Hi, DZ Movies here. Today we're going to explain the second episode of Stranger Things Season 4. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The episode begins with a flashback when Joyce saves the day by pulling a lever but loses Sheriff Jim Hopper, or so she thought, because we see that he actually survived the explosion. The action moves to the present, where Max is awakened from a nightmare. She quickly runs to the kitchen to get a pill when she hears police sirens. Max goes outside to see what happened, and when she approaches Eddie's house, she sees Chrissy's body and the way it looks frightens her. The police have surrounded the scene, taken fingerprints and secured the perimeter, but one of the cops seems to be asking for help through the radio, because he doesn't know how someone could have committed such a crime. Meanwhile at the California airport, Jane and the others are waiting for Mike. His plane lands and he hurries to his friends. When she sees him, Jane throws herself into his arms, almost destroying the flowers he brought her. After Mike greets them and the rest of the gang, they leave to get something to eat. Back at work, Steve and Robin discuss their problems in love, but these disappear when Robin turns on the TV and sees the shocking news about the death of a young girl at their high school. It's not long before the news goes viral and everyone finds out about the incident: basketball players, journalists, and everyone in town. Max arrives at Dustin's house. She confessed what she saw and that she suspected Eddie, but Dustin defends him, saying he couldn't do such a thing. Dustin asks her if she's so sure why she didn't tell the police and come to him, and Max tells her that he then saw Eddie scared and running from the scene. So the two decide that to be sure if he killed the young woman or something else is responsible, they go looking for Eddie. Murray arrives at Joyce's house to help her find out more about the letter she received and whether or not Jim is really alive. At Joyce's insistence to call the number on the note to find out more, Murray agrees, but they will do as he says as a safety precaution. The action moves back into the past where we see Jim Hopper just after the explosion, alive, as he is captured and tortured by the Russian army. They are trying to find out who he was working for and who Joyce was, but Hop won't give them any information about her even at the cost of his life. Back in California, Will, 11 and Mike end up in a playground, with skating, food, drinks, and games of all kinds. The three of them take their roles, and when Will is left alone with Jane for a moment, he asks her why she keeps lying to Mike about her girlfriends and how she comes here often to parties. They get on the ice, but at the fun zone Angela appears with her friends, who surprise Jane and Mike holding hands. The police go to investigate Chrissy's boyfriend, the captain of the basketball team, but he had no idea what had happened, and when he finds out his girlfriend is dead, he is devastated. Max and Dustin arrive at Steve and Robin's store. As Dustin tries to track the location of Eddie's phone, Max fills the two in on what happened. Meanwhile, Nancy and her colleague go to the crime scene under the pretext of visiting Max, who lived nearby, to report on the incident. Angela and her friends come up with a plan to embarrass Jane even more. They take her to the dance floor, put the spotlight on her and start mocking her while one of them films her and everyone laughs at her under Mike's helpless eyes. Murray and Joyce finally call the number on the ticket, where a guy calling himself Enzo answers, demanding $40,000 in ransom for Jim. In the meantime, we are shown how Jim survived the tortures of the Russian army, and was spared for the moment, being transported to another place. The basketball team seeks revenge for Chrissy and goes after Eddie, whom they hold responsible, and in the meantime Max and the others find a possible location where Eddie might be hiding at the moment and go there. Apparently, no one wants to give Nancy a brief interview about what happened, but she eventually convinces Eddie's uncle, the one who found the body, to tell her his side of the story. He tells her how when he was younger everyone in town was terrified of a name, Victor Creel, a man who had gone mad, and killed his family in a sadistic way, a way similar to how he found the girl's body with her eyes gouged out. However, he is apparently locked up in an asylum unless he escaped, as Eddie's uncle suggests. Meanwhile, Nancy's fellow reporter begins to experience the same kind of hallucinations as Chrissy. Drawn to the woods by the sound of a ticking clock, he sees a host of ghosts that label him a killer. Jim Hopper was not killed, but instead we see how he was sent to a prison, and putting what they discussed with Enzo together, Joyce and Murray deduce that Enzo is a guard, who can release Jim in exchange for the sum demanded. So Joyce rushes to the bank to get the money. Embarrassed by what happened, 11 hides, and Mike and Will, despite their misunderstandings, look for her worried. Furious, 11 again turns to Angela and orders her to apologize, but she only laughs at her more, and as her patience comes to an end, Jane grabs a roll and hits her, breaking her nose in front of everyone. That evening, Dustin and the rest of the gang arrive at the supposed location where Eddie was hiding. After several minutes of screaming and knocking on the front door with no answer, Max sees an old chaperon in the back of the house. They go to investigate, and soon after find Eddie attacking Steve, stopped by Dustin, who tells him they are here to help. They ask him to tell them what happened, but Eddie, visibly scared, tells them they won't believe him anyway. Meanwhile, Nancy is still in the trailer park, where she is desperately looking for Fred, asking around but no one has seen him, so she goes back to the policeman there and tells him that her friend has disappeared. Fred runs through the woods to the road, where a car appears in front of her, engulfed in flames. During which Eddie tells the others what he saw, and Dustin tells him that there is another world full of monsters underneath the city, and sometimes something from there escapes into their world, and after further analysis, they come to the conclusion that it may be the curse of Vecna. Steve asks who this Vecna is, and Dustin explains that it is a creature neither dead nor alive that uses magic, a dark wizard. The final scene features this demon himself, who kills Fred just as he killed Chrissy, and then we see him in the afterlife hiding in a house, in a horror scenario. Subscribe to this channel if you want more videos like this. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to turn on notification to help this channel.